Good evening, everyone. I am Ifrit Saraf, Associate Member of Economics Career Alliance, University of Dhaka. Economics Career Alliance has been organizing sessions on competitive career market skills, success stories, and etc. A CV includes your personal information, skill set, qualifications, accomplishments, your previous experiences, as well as your strengths, which is generally used for academic or research purpose. Many of us are interested in pursuing higher studies. Others might choose to enter the world of academia and so on. Wherever we go, a well-designed CV can open doors to our goals. Thinking about all of these, Economics Career Alliance brings you a session called CV Writing for Economists. In today's session, we have our very own alumni, Dr. Nusrat Abidin Jimmy, Faculty Research Associate at the Department of Economics, Vassar College, who has recently received her PhD in economics from Binghamton University, a state university of New York. She has worked as research associate at Bragg. She also worked as a research consultant in leveraging agriculture for nutrition in South Asia. She has been honored with Binghamton University Graduate Student Excellence Award for Research in 2018-19 session. We are really very glad and honored to have you here. Before we start, অডিয়েন্সদের জন্য একটা নোট হচ্ছে সেশন চলাকালীন যদি আপনাদের কারো কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে ইউ ক্যান জাস্ট রেজ ইউর হ্যান্ড আপু সেশনের মধ্যে কোশ্চেন নেবেন আর যদি কারো ডিরেক্টলি প্রশ্ন করতে সমস্যা হয় ইউ ক্যান জাস্ট ইউজ দ্য চ্যাট বক্স আই এম স্টপিং হিয়ার এন্ড ফ্লোর ইজ নাও yours আপু
All right, thank you. Do you want me to continue in English or I can speak in Bangla or whatever, or I can mix? I mean, I don't know, but
কোনো barrier নাই এখানে
okay, sounds good. So maybe I'm like more nowadays used to in English, so sometimes I might like switch. All right. So I'll start with working. See, can you guys see now? You can see the file, right?
Yeah,
okay. Sounds good. Thanks so much. So let's just, run. All right. So this is my, as I mentioned, this is my February 2020 version. So the first, I want to share this one, and at the same time, you can see there is a share. So you should be able to see like two files at the same time. দেখা যাচ্ছে? একটা হচ্ছে ওয়ার্ড ফাইল আর এটা হচ্ছে পিডিএফ. Can you guys see both of them?
দুটো পাশাপাশি মানে অর্ধেক দেখা যাচ্ছে কি একটা অর্ধেক দেখা
যাচ্ছে. So I'll just shift in between two, but you can see like both is present, right?
হ্যাঁ এটা দেখা যাচ্ছে.
Okay, sounds good. So this is the format that I used. So এটা আমার আমার advisor যে ছিলেন, one of them, two of them were like graduated from Harvard. So he shared his তাদের graduate school থেকে যে ফরম্যাটটা তাদের সাথে শেয়ার করা হয়েছিল, he shared that with me, and I usually used this format, this Word file for all my CV. However, I changed a little bit when I moved from from being a graduate student applying for like jobs, so being in the job market. So what I can do, I decided to share this format with you guys because it's not like, public. So I can only share with you or, people who have participated, or maybe the econ view. That's fine. I don't mind, right? So this is the file that I use with a little bit modifications, as needed or to reflect your work or yourself. So that's one. The first is like, you can see that office contact information, and there is also like your, I don't know whether by this time you guys have your own website or not. So if you have that, URL of your web page, this is very important when you are going to the job market, or maybe when you are like an advanced graduate student, maybe you are in your second year, not second year, in the third year of PhD. So by that time, everybody should have this, okay? Their, own web page, email address, and etc. So the first one, you can see that office contact information, etc. The things that you need to fill up. So it was very easy for me. So I just filled up the information. And then there is like home contact information, and that is completely optional, whether you want to share your personal info or not, that's up to you. And now if you look at like my, CV, then you can see I started with like, office contact information. So I just filled up how to get connected with me. And then I also have my phone, my email, and my homepage. So I just shifted this one, a little bit below. So change the format a little bit, and that's fine. So first you need to have your official contact information, this one, and then you start with your education. Just you can see if for personal information, they say, date of birth, sex, citizenship. When I was a graduate student, that personal information, I had that listed, but I didn't, think that was very important at that point. So I didn't put in, this is my like graduate student, and you cannot see like any personal information in the beginning, but at the end. However, when I, entered the job market, then I had the personal information just immediately after my office contact information. So exactly following that format order, okay? And then we have like undergrad studies. Once I share this Word file with you, it should be like pretty straightforward for you guys and easier. So then I started with my education. And the education, you can see there is a pattern. You should always go like your, the higher degrees, the higher classes will go first, right? So first like PhD, then it was expected, and then like master's, and then honors. I also have a master's from Binghamton University, but at that time I just didn't, cited that. However, I think I changed that in my job market CVs that I sent to different like employers. And then I have like research fields. So undergrad studies, graduate studies, and this one you can see for the, the Harvard format, they're saying this is like, especially when you are going to market, right? And I'm sharing both because I want to show you at this point, you are not going to market or everything. So you guys actually don't need, and I'm sure you are not in PhD. So you guys don't need that. So that's why I'm showing you side by side my, my CV version when I was a student versus the format, so that you know which one use when or how to modify, right? So you can see when I was a graduate student, I didn't like follow the reference and graduate studies and etc. because I didn't have my thesis at that time, or etc. PhD candidate or my references or talking about my supervisor. So I just completely skipped that, and I talked about my research fields. So whenever someone opens my CV as a graduate student, they can see that and in which fields I'm interested or I am working. So that's why after my education, I just talked about my research fields. And then immediately there is like publication. So you can see I'm just skipping the Harvard this format, this section, because I was not ready for that. And then I immediately shift to like teaching and research fields, right? So because my focus, so it's always going to be tuning as per your expertise. So my focus was primarily like research. I prefer being a researcher more than being a teacher. So I didn't share both like my teaching and research fields, but rather my only like research fields. I wanted to talk about research first, and then I'll talk about the teaching. And it's up to you. If you feel like that you want to talk about both your teaching experiences, even if you don't feel like, hey, I haven't taught any course, so I cannot talk about that. Even if you have done like small things, mention that. By small, it's not unrelated to economics or applied econ, but anything. Maybe you have been a grader for some professor, or doing a like TA-ship, or being a research assistant, or maybe you just participated in a project and then went to field and collect data and those type of experience. When you apply for graduate school, those also count. So make sure like you talk about your research experiences, your exposure to research and teaching assistantship, and etc. Right? So then I had my research fields. You can see here they are saying that you have to talk about your teaching and research fields, so primary fields, and then secondary fields. I didn't want to like, differentiate. I just, totally just gave like research fields. And then it's like teaching experience. As I mentioned, that I wanted to talk about my research first, not like focusing on teaching. So I didn't, mention that yet. I'll do that later section. And then other, employment, etc. So this is more like when you go to a market. However, as a graduate student, I wanted to, make people show the works that I have done, how I am doing, how productive I'm being as a researcher or as a graduate student, so that they can immediately, value me or get the signal. So you can see I have my research field, and then I immediately listed my publications, revise and resubmit status. If you, have like working papers, then also make sure you note that. So you can see first like education, then immediately whatever your research experience or research interest. So when you are applying for graduate school, you can just change it like research interest, so that whenever professor is looking at your profile and they open it, they immediately can see that you are interested. Oh, this student is interested in like applied micro or behavioral econ or environmental econ. We are interested to hire students in that field. So they will just immediately, that will just catch their attention immediately. All right. So for you guys, it would be research interest when you are applying for grad school. And then if you have any publication or, anything, whether you have worked on like sometimes like book chapters, I had book chapters, but I didn't want to list them, or any working paper or some things you were, working, things like that, you can list. And then also work in progress. If you are currently working in a project, either, there is a difference between working papers and working progress. Working papers is like, a journal, the work that you are doing that is aimed to publish in a journal. So those are like working papers. And the work in progress is more like your current project. So that is not necessarily at this point ready for like, you haven't started writing or doing analysis or etc. However, that's like in the process of inception. You are building up ideas and applying maybe for funding or etc., or you just a part of it. So those are like work in progress, any project involvement and etc. So that's the difference between working papers and work in progress. And then you can see once I'm done with talking about my research, then I change my attention, move to like my teaching experiences, right? So I like to go by research and then teaching and then other skills. However, when I went to the job market, things change as per this Harvard format, because that's like the gold standard, as you guys can guess. And if you go to like, Harvard graduate student econ, their website, if you click like graduate student who are on the market, their CV, you'll just see that exactly they're following this format. However, given that at this point, you guys are more like applying for graduate school, so your one should be very similar to this version. Okay, so then I'm talking about my teaching experience. So I have worked, I have two type of like categories. I tried to categorize so that the professors or, employers who, were looking at my CV, they can immediately like notice that I have worked as the main like course instructor. So these are the courses where I had been the professor. I am the main instructor and the only one. And this is like a graduate teaching assistant. All right. So there I record what I have taught as a teacher and what I have taught or leading the discussion sessions as a teaching assistant, and sometimes maybe a grader. Usually for the summer it's more like a grading. All right, if you have questions, feel free to stop me, because sometimes I talk very quickly. All right, so that's like teaching experience, instructor record, and teaching assistant. So maybe you do not have this one. However, if you have worked for any professor, even as a grader, you don't need to mention that, hey, I just only been like grader, I just graded, or, helped a professor, assisted a professor with something, right? You don't have to say that. You can just say teaching assistant, teaching experience, that being a teaching assistant, of this course, just like following this format. You don't have to go that much details, but you can just show them or signal them, hey, I have some exposure to like teaching experience. So I would be, a good source for being a teaching assistant at your university. All right. Then you can see I have grant writing experience. By the time I went to the market, it changed, like grant I have applied for and grant that I have received successful. So those are like my grant writing experience and, whatever I got. The NSF is like pretty prestigious one. I was lucky to get that. Then there are some others, okay? That's it. So if I'm not sure if you have any experience, that would be like an awesome, but they don't expect you at this point to have this. However, if you had been a part of a project and you assisted a professor or maybe senior researchers in writing a grant, somehow you participated, you can just mention there is, nothing wrong, so that they can see that you have been involved in different projects. All right. Then honors and awards, if you have received anything, make sure you mention that, because at this point, everybody cares about, it doesn't sound like much nice, but people do care about your GPA and your honors and awards and etc., because they have no other way to, evaluate you. So these things matter. If you have anything, make sure you list them. And then conference presentations, if you do not have, at your stage, I had nothing. So when I applied to graduate school, my CV was like much, smaller, and then I didn't have that much to talk. However, even if you presented like actively, but you participated in like an important like conference, or you have been a member of an important group or famous, economics group, you can mention, and those will come like your association and etc. I'll talk about. However, you have it, that conference presentation, even if we have like economic study center, right? Sometimes you guys present your work or your thinking there, right? So if you have that type of experience, that public speaking experience, make sure you mention that. When you apply for graduate school, those things matters. Okay, so maybe your title is not going to be conference presentation, but you can just name it as public speaking. So feel free, like tune it as per your expertise to signal people. Sounds good? So you can just say public speaking or anything else that you have done, that will show them that you are very active and engaged in, confident and etc. Then professional appointments, if you have any, mention. If you don't, then you don't have to mention. However, if you are planning to apply for graduate schools, these experiences matters a lot. I think I'll be just honest, my GRE, performance was like the lowest in my PhD batch. And however, I have this experience of BRAC. So they knew that I was active in like, in terms of like project, better idea about how we do applied econ or development econ. That helped me a lot. It also helped me to get my job. I'm currently working in a, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation project, which is executed by, Vasara, etc. So these experiences helped me a lot. So before you apply for a North American graduate school, if you have any kind of like active research experience or have an appointment, that would count. That would definitely count, and sometimes compensate a little bit lower performance in your GRE. Yeah, GRE, math 1 or 2 point less. That would just compensate for it. All right, and then my research reports and etc. Those are my, when I was a kid in BRAC, then whatever I have done, I just listed. And then workshop and training, those are also important. Make sure that you make people know that what you have, what are the skills you have. If you have, even if at this point now there are like a lot of like online workshop and training and etc. It's always like good if you have participated before you apply to graduate school to, any kind of like training. If you can show them, hey, I already know how to, I have some exposure to R or maybe MATLAB or maybe Stata. It depends. If you're more like a macro person, then MATLAB and Python, those are like now on high demand. And if you're more like micro person, then a little bit intermediate skill, kind of like intermediate skill in data, those are valued. So I participated in like several World Bank, JPAL, and IPA, those kind of like training. Because I had the privilege of being a BRAC member, so I just noted them. And if you have any training, especially on like applied research, so for example, a randomized control trial or any other research methods, research method actually counts a lot. So if you have any courses or training on like different kind of research methods and implementation, make sure you list them here. Okay, you can just say workshop, training, or anything else. Just change it as per your expertise. Then professional membership, that's it. Software skills, important, very important. Oh yeah, the ArcGIS is also like nowadays a trend. So if you have anything, that is fine. But if you don't feel like you are inferior, because I know from my experience and looking when my professors were hiring graduate students, taking PhD student intake, I saw what they are doing, and I know, because one of my supervisor was like a young professor, and I have most of the work with him, so he didn't mind sharing with me or showing me. And I could even see all the Bangladeshi students apply for a particular year in our university. So I have kind of experience. I know what are the things that they look for. So the number one is of course your GRE performance matters, your CGPA matters, your research experience matters a lot. If you have anything, that will compensate for a lot of things. If you have like working experience in a project, or maybe you have a working paper, that will show that you are really interested in econ research, because after like coursework, it will be all about research and you will be by yourself. So you just need to signal in some way that you have the potential to be an independent researcher. All right, so so those counts, your research experience, any like working papers and etc., those counts. And then you can see my personal information I just listed at the end. However, when I entered the job market, that went to the top, because citizenship matters in terms of getting jobs in the US. And then the references. And this might not be applicable for you, but if you have any like paper, journal articles or any working paper, for working paper it doesn't count. However, for journal articles that has already been published, or maybe in the revise and resubmit status, you can just list the title and the abstract. And you can see that the papers that I had, some published and some like in the revise resubmit, I gave the title and give the abstract to show people my work. It's just like signaling and showing, advertising what I have done, what I have found, and etc. So if you have any like journal article, or you have any revised resubmit status for journal article, you can just list them. If not, don't do that for like working or book chapters. Those they do not count those. All right, so that's it. So that's for my one. Yeah, more or less. So I would also like to share just to show you a little bit at the end of job market, how I changed my CV. So this is the one that yeah, in the beginning of job market, at least maybe I changed a little bit in the December. However, when I was preparing for the market, that's how I modified my CV. And now you can see more similarities with this Harvard format. Okay, you can see, yep. So I'm just following office contact, then personal information, then my education. I didn't do this graduate student and references in the beginning, because my main supervisor, he suggested me, hey, let's just move that at the end, because nobody cares about references if you are not from like top school. So if you're not from top school, putting these references at the top doesn't help, because I'll just, tell you why. For the top school candidates, they put this, in front, because that shows that whether you have worked with any like big people, big shot, whether one of your supervisor is like, very famous person, because that helps in terms of getting jobs. The main idea is like getting job, right? Getting signaling. But for my school, it was not like top school, it's more like mid-range school. So for me, giving these references at the top is not going to be it's not going to help me. Rather, I should talk more about my, hey, I might not have gone to like a top school, but I'm very productive, I have worked a lot. So you advertise as per your expertise. So I choose to talk about my research, my teaching, and etc. So yeah. I'm just being honest. And then, yep, so teaching and research field, teaching experiences, you can see that I have shifted everything like on top, not like before. And then I change, talking about my employment or professional appointments. It's just I'm following more of this format. Yep. So, and then research grants, grant awarded, grant applied for, honors and awards, etc. Professional activities, affiliations, workshop training. This is my job market paper. You share the link so that they can just click and look at your paper that you have been working, publication, working paper, conference presentation, and etc. That's it. That's how I did that. And then for the job market CV, I didn't share my abstract of the journal submission because I don't need to, and I have already shared the link, so they just click and look at. So there's no point, that would be redundant, so I didn't listed the abstract and etc. at the end. So yeah, it has been modified. That's how I do it. Any questions from your side? Do you guys want me to share this format with you, or you don't need that? You already have something?
It would be very great if you could share it with us.
Yeah, but don't tell other people. My professor doesn't know that, but I think that would really help you, because if they open the CV and they just see that, hey, it's just like, oh, they formatted the CV just like top school candidates, they just know that you are knowledgeable. That's also a signal. Yeah, any question? No? Any question with related stuff, maybe not CV, but something related to like how to get into like BIGD. Now it's no more BRAC, or maybe SANEM and etc. If you have any questions regarding those, I can also address as per my knowledge or experience. And if not, then we are good. You can ask in Bangla. I don't mind. Any question? Kono proshno? Yeah, someone raised hand.
Apu, what was your experience with BIGD or SANEM? Like, how did you get into that, and what was your research topics? And like, if you could share out them, that'd be really nice.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think those are like more important. Let me just okay, I'll just address that later. Okay. Yeah, let me just quickly talk about my experience with BRAC. And I haven't worked for SANEM. I know, when we graduated, I was in the 86th batch, my master's. So আমরা পাশ করার পর SANEM লোক নিচ্ছিল কিনা আমি actually জানি না, but I was looking for more like micro or applied micro or development type of work, because those are like my interest from the very beginning. I wanted to work with like poor people, or getting involved in projects that can help them. So I was looking for something besides SANEM, because I was not that much at that point. I was not that much interested in like international trade or those kind of thing, or running different models. But I was more like practical, or that is like that would be more helpful to like disadvantaged or backwards people for my country. So I was always like development econ oriented or focused. That was my interest from the very beginning. And we were looking for opportunities. I remember I just, even before I had my, what is that, master's result, as soon as I, finished my exam, I got an offer from Otonu sir. So is Otonu sir teaching now? Otonu sir
জি আপু উনি আছেন বাট এখন আই গেস লিভে।
Okay, all right. So Otonu sir আমাকে আর আমার friend Taya Taranum আমাদের দুজনকে একটা project-এ he wanted us to get involved. I think that at that point that was, oh no, there are three options. One is like Otonu sir on some of his project most probably, and then we say okay, we'll talk about that later. And then we also had the option from ERG that is led by, I think, Helal sir and Yab. So we also had that. And then the third option was, we got some call from BRAC, the BRAC research group. I don't know whether you know him. He was one of the famous people, Dr. Mahbub Hossain. He is no more with us. So he wanted to, he called me and my, friend. So he just wanted to talk to us because they were interested in hiring, some people. So for me, I've been very lucky. I didn't have to participate in any written exam or everything. Just after I had my master's result, I went to talk to Dr. Mahbub Hossain, who was the executive director of BRAC, and at the same time he was, doing some research with the research group, the development research group. And we just, I just went there and he talked to me, and the very next day he said, "Come and join." So for me, it's different. So I had been lucky that would say he liked us, and then I just joined BRAC, and I decided to join BRAC compared to like ERG and the other option offered by professor, because I was more like, I felt more connected with the teams and the type of activities that BRAC do. At that point, to be honest, I didn't have that vision that, hey, BRAC is more like a global institution. Everybody knows BRAC, so that will give me more exposure. I actually didn't, think about that. However, it was more like I joined BRAC. That's how I started, and I was also very lucky that within BRAC there are like several, in the research development econ, ag econ. When I did the interview, they asked me what was my interest and etc. Whether I would be able to, the type of questions that they, Dr. Mahbub Hossain asked me that, obviously the result matters, your GPA matters, and then would you be interested in working, in the field? তুমি কি তোমার ফিল্ড ট্রিপে যেতে কোনো প্রবলেম আছে কিনা, গ্রামের মানুষের সাথে বা বস্তির মানুষের সাথে কথা বলতে, মানে ওখানে কাজ করতে কোনো প্রবলেম আছে কিনা? No, I just want to work on those type of activities, and that's why I'm interested in BRAC. And then he talked about a little bit like, experience, econometrics and etc., those kind of thing questions. And then he was like, payment, directly just move to payment, how much money you are interested to take, you be willing to take this job. That's it. So that's my experience. However, I think for regular people who join, like go through the, and then from that, from the written exam, they pick like multiple, for interview, and then there is an interview, and then they decide on the final candidates. And given that I do not know what type of questions appear on the written exam, but I am expecting more like your, knowledge on, apply microecon, macroecon, or current affairs, or more little bit background of like, the economics of, Bangladesh and etc. Then maybe, I don't know. I actually don't know. So that's one part. And then for the interview, it matters how you express yourself. So for the interview, they will figure out that whether you are really interested in a particular project or field that they're looking, they're searching in their candidate, and whether you are flexible. Always be flexible. Whatever they say, even if you don't agree or not, just say, yeah, I would love to do that. Always like be flexible. Would you mind working, above the like 9 to 5? Yes, I'm always like interested in working. I just love to work. So always be flexible, be like confident, and that's it. And my experience with BRAC had been very good. As I said, I was blessed to have Dr. Mahbub Hussain as my main supervisor, and also I don't know whether you know him, Narayan Chandra Das. He got his PhD from Berkeley. He was my second supervisor. So I got involved in a lot of couple of BRAC projects, and one project was randomized control trial credit project that is like agricultural econ side. Then I also got involved in BRAC's famous the targeting ultra poor program. I got involved in that. I also did like their urban ultra poor program. I was the lead in that project. So I had experience of doing, before I applied for graduate school, I had experience of implementing project, being a project lead, managing people, manage fields, writing reports, manage even some of the seniors, because I am a lead of a team, and then I also have experience of working as a team member. I also have had experience of working, in like gold standards research method, which is randomized control trial. So get involved in projects as much as you can, as per your interest, so that builds up when you apply for a good top graduate school. I didn't apply for top graduate school because GRE was like shittiest. You cannot even imagine how I got in the maths section. But yeah, and also study for GRE a lot. Not like 20 days before the exam like me. Study, perform well, because nowadays most of the people do very well. So yeah, it's just standard and norm that you have a good number, especially in math section. And then build up experience, talk to senior people, don't feel shy. Whatever research opportunity you get, talk to your professors, get engaged and list them when you apply for graduate school. That would be like greatest asset. Okay. And also do good in the exam. GPA matters, I know. Anything else? Internship means surname. I have some research experience. I've worked on projects and other, but I have no paper on my own. That's fine. I didn't have my paper from BRAC. I think that's called, is being question is from Paramita. So Paramita, if you're hearing me, if you do not have like any paper of your own, nobody is expecting to have a paper of your own when you apply for a graduate school, master's. Nobody is expecting. If you have, you're like top school kind of thing. However, if you have been a part of a project and you have some kind of like research report, or maybe like book chapters or anything, research, or maybe you have written a summary report. Sometimes people even share, articles that has been a newspaper column and etc. If you have them, just show them. That will just show that you have that research in your mind. You have that research mindset and you are active. You have some experience of public speaking. You have some experience of applied research, and you are a good student because you are from DU. Those, it's more like a combination. It's more like a package rather than individual stuff. So it's perfectly fine if you don't have your paper. If you have any kind of writing experience based on econ, share it, list it. Okay. You can. So how can you incorporate? You can just have a title like writing experience, or econ writing or academic writing experience. You can just create a title, academic writing experience, and then list whatever you have. Okay. Anything else? কোনো other প্রশ্ন or concern or anything?
Hi, Apu. I'm Maisha. So my question is that what is something, I mean, academically, what you wish you what skill you wish you had incurred more during your undergraduate days, or something you wish you had dabbed into while you were in your undergraduate, while you were doing your undergraduate studies?
Being serious about study and learn more, and be more skilled in math or technical stuff. Because in my first year, my undergrad first and second year, I didn't study at all. So my result was like very nothing to be proud of or something. But I wish that I studied more, learned more, and had more mathematical skills before joining the graduate school. Because as soon as the first year is like, you need to prepare a comprehensive exam, and there will be like micro, there will be macro, and some schools have statistics in their first year comp exam. Some schools don't have. Even if you don't have the comp exam, you need to take the 2 stat course, and you need to pass those like good. I struggled a lot in the stat course because my first year, unfortunately, I don't want to blame anyone, I mean, not the professor or anything, I'll just take it on my shoulder that I didn't learn enough. I struggled a lot. I cried every single day for the statistics, and there would be a math camp. The math camp not struggle that much because you have those, you can learn. But stat, I struggled a lot. So I really wish that I learned more math and statistics, more technical skills, more rigorous technical training before joining the graduate school. That really helps you to remove a lot of stress in the first year. The first year is the worst. Whatever expectation you have about the grade, just multiply that by 0.3 or 0.4, and you'll struggle. You'll be very scared about the comprehensive exam. Study with zero outcome. So yeah, having technical skills is very important for the first comprehensive exam. So that's a good question. Actually, that reminds me, there are 2 types of skill. One is technical skills, like for economics, like one is technical skill, and the other is like practical or research oriented skills, or that mindset. For PhD econ, if you are applying for econ, the first year or first and second year, I would suggest the comprehensive exam. The technical skill matters the most. So the more technical skill you have, it will be a little bit easier on your life. You'll be a little bit less crying. And the research skills and the research mindset, that matters like the rest of the future. So people like me who didn't learn that much, fakibaji course, their first year was like hell. But once I had my comp done, alhamdulillah, I passed it in the first attempt. But once that is done, then there's like no stopping point. I just it was super easy for me. So yeah, so I wish I learned more technical skills before I joined the graduate school. Anything else? CGPA matters a lot. Sometimes some candidates, so that's Paramita. Okay, as I mentioned, Paramita, throughout my whole talking, I just focused, like, I'll just say again, for applying to grad schools, I didn't apply for top school, but I know the criterias. I didn't apply because my theory was very shitty. That's the only reason I didn't dare to apply. CGPA matters. Some kind of research experience matters. Sometimes your research interest matters, because people who are, that's luck. So people who are on the the hiring or the graduate student board, if those professors are doing research in a particular field, and some candidate is saying that, hey, I am really interested in that field, I have these ideas, I have this experience, they're more likely to get into. So so yeah, your CGPA matters. CGPA matters. CGPA matters. It matters a lot. For the first 2 years of PhD, people will say that once you pass the COM, CGPA doesn't matter. That's not true. You can see I got a couple of like prestigious participation. I got the Massachusetts, the NBER. I participated. I mean, I got chance into their summer program. That's like top school candidates. I was the only like middle range school candidate in there. So my supervisor mattered and my CGPA mattered to get into in that NBER workshop. So CGPA matters, not only like your undergrad, but also like the graduate school first 2 years CGPA matters. However, I'm not saying that if you have a little bit like lower CGPA than like top, so if you know that, hey, I do not have like 3.99, I do not 99, there's nothing like 3.99, 3.95, or I do not have 3.88 or something. However, I have kind of like ranging 3.5 or maybe 3.4 to 3.75 in that kind of range. So you already know that I'm lacking a little bit in terms of CGPA. If you know that, then of course focus your attention to build up on other things. As I said, get involved in research projects as much as you can, get exposure, get some online training, get some other technical skills that will compensate. It is never only about CGPA, it's about the whole you as a package. So you have to sell yourself in front of like, hiring committee as a package. So if you know this is my little bit weak side, then invest on other side before you apply to the graduate school. So for me, I had a good CGPA. Alhamdulillah, I had a good. I know that I didn't do well in the GRE. So when I applied for grad school in my SOP and etc., I talked a lot about my research. I talked a lot about my vision as a development, aspiring development economist or student. That helped me. So yeah. Any other question? We are running out of time. I think I will be just like 2-3 minutes, maybe last question. Yeah.
Abu.
Yes.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম আপু, আমি অফিস থাকি।
Yeah.
আপু, আপনি যে আমাদের ইউএসএ যাওয়ার আগে আমাদের এখান থেকে যে ওইখানে গেলেন, তো এই যে লম্বা একটা প্রসেস, তো এইখানে আপনি কি কি সমস্যা ফেস করছেন, আবার ওইখানে যাওয়ার পরে আপনি কি কি নতুন শিখছেন যেটা আপনি মনে করেন যে আমাদের সাথে শেয়ার করবে, এটা আমাদের জন্য উপকার হবে বা পরবর্তীতে দেখা গেছে আমরা আরো বেটার কোনো কিছু করতে পারবো, তো এরকম কিছু কি আছে?
Yeah, sure. So তোমার মাস্টার্স এর রেজাল্ট হয়ে যাওয়ার পরে তো তোমার যদি ইচ্ছা থাকে তুমি অ্যাপ্লাই করবা, then immediately now people are like more focused, right? They even start preparing for the GRE from their 3rd year or 4th year. I was not like that. I'm always like, as I said, I studied for GRE literally 20 days. So I had to pay a lot for that because I didn't apply for a good school, as I said. Don't do that. Don't be like me. So if you have if you want to go for graduate school or coming to a North American country, for PhD, or maybe a good Australian university, maybe Monash or etc. or ANU, or maybe I don't know about Canada. I don't know. So if you have that, start preparing earlier, and after you have your master's result, take the GRE as soon as you can, because sometimes even if you are very well prepared, the exam, something happened and you just messed up. So if you have the plan that, hey, I'll apply for that semester, then make sure that you have enough time to retake your GRE and TOEFL or IELTS. I took TOEFL. Make sure that in the semester that you are targeting, you have a window to retake your exam, either the GRE or the TOEFL or both. So prepare earlier always help. All right. So yeah, so that would be like a great, so yeah, thanks for asking that question. So always like prepare like that if my first exam I messed up, you have enough money, because taking those GRE and TOEFL costly, not cheap. So you have enough money and time so that you can participate, you can retake the exam, as simple as that. And then once you have that, prepare your, go to the department websites, different universities, look at the professors who are actively, don't always look for big shots, because usually like, big shots or like famous professors, don't work actively with graduate students, but the young professors, from good school or who are very active in research and etc. Look at their profile, look at what they are working on, and whether that matches your interest. If that matches your interest, director or the person who's gonna answer your question, that what are they looking for in their candidates, whether give a little bit brief summary. I did that. I gave a little bit brief summary of my profile, and then reached out to the grad director. Hey, this is my profile, I'm interested in your program. What do you think? Is there anything you are looking for specific, etc. Yeah, so talk to people. Don't feel shy, don't feel intimidated by them. They're there for this job. There is like specific person as a grad director, he's supposed to handle this thing. So reach out to them, talk to them politely and smartly. That helps. They know that, hey, this student is interested, they're going to apply, and etc. So just advertise your name, advertise your work, and etc. And then that's like the process. Then you apply, you get some offers, you accept it, you book your flight, and you run. And once you go there, my advice would be, you'll be sad, but be flexible, be open-minded. And yeah, the first year is very very hard, but after that it should be fine. Over the time you will be fine. Just be flexible, that's it. That what I would say. But given that at this point you are more like planning how to apply and get into a good school or maybe a school, because things are very competitive at this point, I would say prepare earlier. And if you are targeting a particular semester, fall semester, make sure you have enough time to retake your GRE and TOEFL. If you need that, in case you need that, you can do that, all right? Because if you don't plan accordingly, you'll just miss that particular year. And if you had not been active as a researcher or research associate or intern in that particular frame, that's not a good sign. So always be like productive and upfront. Yeah. Anything else? I'll just take one more question.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Any other questions?
না, আমার একটা লাস্ট কোশ্চেন ছিল। বাংলাদেশে অনেকগুলো ফিল্ডে কাজ হয় না, লাইক পিওর মাইক্রো থিওরি, ইকোনোমেট্রিক থিওরি, আইও, ইভেন পলিটিক্যাল ইকোনমিতেও সাবস্টেন্সিয়াল তেমন কোনো কাজ হয় না। এখন আমি যদি এসব ফিল্ডে সিগন্যাল দিতে যাই যে আমার ইন্টারেস্ট আছে, how do I do that?
That would be your kind of like, that's a very good question. I know, because development econ and applied micro, those are like our asset, right? However, if you have interest like political econ and IO and etc., আমাদের ডিপার্টমেন্ট health আর কিছু industry কাজ করে, right? Industry organization. So maybe just talk to him and get involved in one of his projects. And then for other part, if you are interested in a particular topic that we do not have that much specialization or research opportunity, then you should build that up in your SOP. That's my plan, that's what I want to do, that I have these kind of ideas and etc. That in that case your SOP would be like more like signaling your story. For SOP, just immediately, I forgot the steps of SOP. Just shift your ideas and your interest and convince the reader that you are really into this topic. That would be the only place to signal. And the other way is to participate in some workshop or training or maybe some course online. Nowadays a lot of online courses. Maybe pick a top school, participate in one of their online political econ course. Hey, I'm just not talking, I have participated this program that shows that I'm really into this topic, or this is my research interest. That would be two things that at this point in my mind. Participate in some training workshop course, and also in your SOP talk about there should be one paragraph you are talking about your vision about the research or your ideas, etc. Or if you are particularly looking for a particular department, particular professor working in econometrics or micro theory and etc., read their work and then try to align your story with their research, actively their working field, so that they feel like, hey, this student might be a good resource or assistant in my research. Yeah, that's how you sell it. That's how. All right, it was nice talking to you guys. So I will share the CV template with you guys. Just make sure it doesn't go outside of EconDU. That's it. And if you have any further questions, you guys can email me or anything. I don't mind if that helps. Okay. It's really nice to see a lot of students are like, yeah, interested. Best of luck.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
আপু আপনাকে অনেক থ্যাঙ্কস অনেক ইনফরমেটিভ একটা সেশনের জন্য। ইট ওয়াজ রিয়েলি মোটিভেটিং এন্ড অ্যাকচুয়ালি মানে আমাদের অনেকের কি সমস্যা হয়ে যায় যখন ফার্স্ট ইয়ার সেকেন্ড ইয়ার সিজিপি এটা মানে আশানুরূপ হয় না।
Oh, just to, I mean, that would be a fantastic ending. Our first year CGPA very bad, second year very bad. I recovered third year and fourth year, especially I started, the econometrics. I was very interested. I found it very interesting. So I, got like very good marks in, those subjects. And yeah, real analysis, econometrics, no mathematical courses. So my first year and second year is like horrible, but I recovered. I mean, I covered it in my third year and fourth year. And at the end, I was just fine. I believe my master's CGPA was, I forgot, 3.95 or something like that, 3.9. I don't know. But yeah, don't give up. The first 2 years, even if you mess up, just like me, personal coronary, that's fine. But you always have the chance. And there are some courses that they prioritize compared to other courses. If you signal them you are really good in econometrics and those kind of technical course, you have got like straight A's, that is good. That is a good sign. So yeah, so the type of course that you are doing good is also fine. In that case, in your SOP or in your when you are explaining SOP, like statement of purpose, say that, hey, my first 2 years I messed up, I didn't do well for whatever reason, but then I tried hard. That shows that I am a hard worker. So that is also one way to signal that if I work hard, I do very good. Okay. Thank you
so much.
Bye. Take care.
So okay apu, then সেশনটা এখানে শেষ করে দিচ্ছি।
Yeah, sure. I will leave the meeting and it's up to you. Okay. Bye.
Okay. ওকে, অলরাইট। আজকে বেশ ভালো পার্টিসিপেশন ছিল এন্ড সবাইকে অনেক থ্যাঙ্কস। আর আমি জাস্ট একটা কথা বলবো, সেটা হচ্ছে সবার আগে আমাদের সামনে ইসিএ থেকে অনেক বড় একটা এসে 98 ব্যাচের পক্ষ থেকে, এন্ড তোমরা একটু কানেক্টেড থাকার চেষ্টা করো ইসিএ এর সাথে। something big is coming and it will be really grateful and a great event, and we will be really grateful যদি তোমাদের কাছ থেকে অনেক বেশি পার্টিসিপেশন থাকে। and that's it, আজকে এখানে শেষ করে দিচ্ছি and